football, but it looks very, very different here in 2026. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus. Hour number 2 continues. Several former SEC players are going to the Pro Bowl, but keep in mind, this isn't a game like it used to be. It used to be a true blue all-star game, like the Major League Baseball all-star game, like the NBA all-star game, but except it's here in the middle of Super Bowl week, and I'll give my take on it in just a little bit. But what do you make of this going to the game style where we see a lot more hijinks, so to speak, than we do actual football?
I mean, I don't really know. It's just such a weird thing because I saw Brandon Aubrey hitting 330-yard drives. I know he's got an absolute cannon for a leg, and he can. I'm sure one day he'll make a 70-yard field goal.
Right.
But I mean, it's like, why in the world are we? I don't know if we're trying to get to something different, because at this point, in my opinion, the Pro Bowl is just glorified flag football, and nobody really wants to watch that up until the Olympics in 2028, when there's going to be flag football in the Olympics.
Right.
Then it might be entertaining when there's something to play for.
Yeah.
But I just can't think of a more, in my opinion, meaningless event than maybe the NBA All-Star Game. Like that. Those are the two leagues that I feel like have some traction here in the United States.
Right.
I know a lot of people are starting to pick up the NBA. Programs are starting to advertise it a little bit more and put more into it. But they're also the two leagues that have the most meaningless All-Star weekend.
Correct. Yeah, and I think that the NBA game, they've both leagues have tried to tweak their All-Star games because in pro football, obviously you don't have the representatives that of the best teams, because the two teams that are playing in the Super Bowl aren't going to play in these Pro Bowl games. Secondly, I think that a lot of guys started to see this. A lot of guys, this is kind of a product of how much money they're making. They used to be incentivized to play in the games because they would make an extra 30, 50, 60, 100K. That's now kind of off the board, and these guys aren't incentivized by $100,000 because they are making so much money, especially at certain positions. And then thirdly, I think that you're getting the fact that there's now an 17 game regular season, got the playoffs there as well.
Could be 18 soon, by the way.
Yeah, right. And these guys could just be beat up. You know, they don't play. It's not like a 14-game season like they used to be, or a 16-game season like it was for a while. Now playing 18 games, and so now we're seeing, you know, guys that might not belong get in these games, and that includes the former, I was going to say Brown star. He's a star in the celebrity sense, not necessarily a star in the football sense.
He's a star in the music scene. Correct,
yes. But Shedeur Sanders is going to make an appearance in the Pro Bowl, mainly because of all the people that dropped out.
Yeah, and I mean, how can you – this is no disrespect to Shedeur Sanders by any means. I mean,
no.
I think he's going to do great things for the Browns. I think who's over there now? Todd Monken?
Yeah, Monken, yeah.
I think he's going to be able to flourish under Todd Monken. But it's just, how can you see this stat line and say, yeah, Pro Bowler with 18.9 QBR? Like, I just don't know how far this game has fallen. And honestly, we could both go down the rabbit hole of where did this game start to go down. In my opinion, I think it started to go downhill when they took it out of Hawaii. That was actually kind of cool. The fact that you go out to Hawaii every year, and that was the last true feel. And then they moved it to Orlando, and it started to lose a little bit of its meaning. And now it just feels like, you know, let's just have it. I don't even know really what to call it. Like, let's just have these guys play a bunch of different sports, not named football. Yeah,
like a bunch of rec PE games,
phys ed class.
Yes.
Like it's like the field days.
Right, exactly. And I think the NFL's trying to tweak it because the game got to be an embarrassment. None of the guys were playing defense, and I do think they needed to tweak it. And at least in the basketball All-Star game, they've tweaked the ending and the way that the games end. So you do see that effort being put in on the back end, even though it's like 177 to 175. And so you kind of have to roll your eyes through the first three quarters, and then you really get some good fun there in the fourth quarter. But this is a little bit different. It'll be interesting to see. It almost feels like now we should just have these guys are Pro Bowlers. these guys aren't Pro Bowlers, and then just let it be. Like, okay, all right, so this is the Pro Bowl team.
Yeah.
Roll it out, and then be done with everything else. Because to me, to wrap it in all of that seems to, not necessarily hold water. But that said, there are a lot of former SEC guys that are in this whole thing.
And before we get into that real quick, I was just trying to brainstorm of a potential solution, and I mean, I take what the NHL did with Four Nations and their 3-on-3 before it. Maybe you could make a game out of you could split the United States into four. Like four quadrants, and then have each 4 quadrants and have like a mini tournament style. And then if you win the tournament, like I think in the 3-on-3 All-Star game that the NHL did, the winners get like $1 million each. Or like something like that. So like incentivize it or something. But I mean, the NBA is still unwatchable for me. Four Nations was probably the best thing that the NHL's ever did. Because that got eyes on the game like never before. The MLB one is the only one that truly feels like an all-star game.
Correct.
Because these guys are still actually trying in the games, albeit the pitchers only usually pitch for 1 or 2 innings.
Yeah.
It still feels like an all-star game.
It does, and I wonder how much of this is because of where it is placed. Because the other 2 all-star games, they're placed in the middle of the calendar year. And so
that's true, yeah.
You get, in basketball, you get kind of a break. In baseball, you get kind of a break. In baseball, it sits very well on the calendar because there is nothing going on in the world of sports for the most part. Every now and again, it might be a lead up to the Olympics, but usually in that middle part of July, nothing is going on. So you add the fact that it's a break in the middle of the year. You can reassess your first half. You can look towards your second half. The trade deadline is coming up. So that's the part of the reason why I do feel like it is the truest form of an all-star game to me. A lot of times your hockey all-star break, sometimes it runs in parallel with the Olympic Games. So it doesn't necessarily, it's a break, but it doesn't necessarily feel like a break. And so I don't know. I feel like these Pro Bowl games, I do feel like in 5 years we won't be doing this anymore.
No.
It'll just be
extinct.
It'll just be, we'll name who the Pro Bowl team is, like the All-Pro. They just name who the team is, and then that's that. Yeah. And that's that.
But as you mentioned, we do have some former SEC standouts on. Let's start with the AFC team.
Yeah, let's start with that AFC team there. You got Joe Burrow. So, I mean, that's not to just, slam the fact that Shedeur Sanders is on there. I mean, there are some heavy hitters. That includes the former LSU star in Joe Burrow and his former Bengal Tiger teammate, running mate there in Jamar Chase. James Cook, who was an outstanding star at Georgia, now in Buffalo, coming up a really good year as well. David Etienne of Texas A&M, now with the Miami Dolphins, and Trey Smith, the former Tennessee star. We also have Creed Humphrey of Oklahoma. Will Anderson, who won the Defensive Rookie of the Year last year, former Alabama star. Also Jeffrey Simmons of Mississippi State, and Nick Bonito of Oklahoma, and Roquan Smith there of Georgia. Also Derek Stingley Jr. out of LSU, Patrick Surtain, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year in football out of Alabama, Kamari Lassiter of Georgia, Cameron Dicker from Texas. And as far as the Florida goes, they're represented by DK over there with the Florida Gators. And this, to me, I mean, it is a nice group of players to me that I feel like can make some noise, so to speak, in these Pro Bowl games. It does give it a heavy hitter feel to it with these guys. And so, I mean, if nothing else, you have some stars in the field. Yeah,
and you definitely have some stars on the other side, too. And there's no secret that this first graphic is dominated by Cowboys, but it just makes you wonder, how in the world do you have this trio and you don't make the playoffs? It's just crazy. But Jalen Hurts, the former Oklahoma and Alabama star, Dak Prescott, obviously had that great run there at Mississippi State. George Pickens came from Georgia, and then CeeDee Lamb had a really nice career over there at Oklahoma. Moving on, Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama, Bijan Robinson out of Texas, Trent Williams and Quinnen Williams from Oklahoma and Alabama, respectively, and then Byron Young out of Tennessee, J.C. Horn and Keyshawn Nixon out of South Carolina, and Tress Way, the punter there out of Oklahoma.
I think as far as star power goes, I think the AFC is just lined with it. I'm really excited to see the AFC team. But AFC.
Okay.
That's Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. I like that group. Will Anderson, Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
Will that equate to winning? The games that they play? I have no idea. I'm just saying from a star power perspective.
If they were playing actual football,
correct,
it would probably be a something fun to watch. But,
yeah.
I think the AFC is better on the defensive side. I still have to give the offensive side to the NFC.
NFC,
what they were able to do and led that quarterback room led by some former SEC stars and Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott, obviously NFC East rivals now. I feel like both of these quarterbacks, real quick here, I feel like they're starting to enter a bit of an interesting time in their career because Dak, coming off a pretty good year, didn't know how well he would play after the hamstring injury.
Yeah.
Actually had a really nice year, was in MVP talks for a little bit until, the Cowboys just imploded down the stretch. And then Jalen Hurts, we talk about it all the time. I think, he's going on his 14th play caller?
Yes.
Since high school? Since high school. It's a new guy every year. Vic Fangio apparently is considering retirement. I don't know if this is what's going to happen with the Eagles. Who knows what's going to happen with A.J. Brown, but I just feel like both of these quarterbacks are entering some interesting years in their careers.
I do too, because obviously both guys are veterans, and Jalen Hurts has 2 Super Bowl appearances and a Super Bowl championship that he won last year. Dak's still chasing his first one, but Dak playing on probably the most visible franchise in the NFL in the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
And I think too, it's a Cowboys team to me. I know that they were banged up a little bit. It's a Cowboys team to me that I feel like they feel they're closer to a championship than maybe they are. But I think that Jerry Jones thinks, hey, we solidify some spots on defense. We have the offense to make it happen. And if we're in an offensive league right now, I think that he thinks that this team is closer to a championship.
I don't know what they're going to open at. And this is not the fan in me speaking, by the way. There's no bias in this in this take. I don't know what they're going to open at to make the playoffs next year, but I would hammer it. With the draft picks that they have, they just got the Eagles passing game coordinator and defensive backs coach.
Right.
Cooper DeJean was talking highly about him.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're talking highly about him because he's going to Dallas and they're like, oh, he's bad, but he's actually good.
Uh-huh.
But with all those draft picks that they have, I'm sure Jerry Jones has a history of drafting well.
Right.
They have to absolutely knock it out of the park on defense. And if you can get George Pickens back next year, I don't see why. It's going to sound crazy. I don't see why they won't be a Super Bowl contender, because they're going to have that Super Bowl contending offense.
Right.
And they should have the pieces on defense with Quinnen Williams, Kenny Clark, some of these other guys. Got to beef up the secondary and the linebacker core, but they have the draft to do it.
What do you think that their over-under will be? I try to look
wins
on some
for
offshore,
next season?
I'll try to look at some offshore accounts and couldn't really find anything. Obviously, all those numbers will come out after the Super Bowl, but I was wondering, just in case a number comes out that's close to your number to hammer.
They finished second this year. I would take them at 10. I really would.
Okay.
I seriously think they're going to win.
9.5, you take the over, or 10.5, you take the over.
I'd even take the over at 10.5. I think
Okay.
they'll win 11+ games next year,
Wow.
just because they're. As long as Jerry Jones continues his trend of drafting well,
Right.
I see no reason why they can't make the playoffs next year, just because that offense is so good. Javonte Williams should be coming back. As long as you can get George Pickens back,
Right.
that offense is going to be great. You just got to beef up the defense.
Absolutely.